Good afternoon. This is Arlo Johnson in Vernon, BC on January the 5th, 2025. My voice is just about leaving me. the I noticed today the weather in the United States has taken a turn for the real worse for winter. They've said that there's approximately 75 million people affected by this storm that is going through the central United States and heading for the East Coast and then south. And it's all ice, snow, blizzards, and I suppose knocking power out, a lot of ice problems. But that's a big swath of over 70 million people. That's bigger than the size of France or England. Yeah, it's the weather can be really, really rough. I notice that we continually to have just a warm winter. No winter at all, really. It's like, cool fall. It's about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, approximately. Thereabouts, a little under and over. And that's been going on now for a month or so. And when I look at the forecast, it's that way as far as the forecast stretches, which is like 8 to 10 days. But I mean, last year we got two days of winter, really, minus 20 and 25 for 2 days, and that was it. It ruined all the soft fruit crops in the Okanagan, which is a pretty big fruit growing area. And it looks like it's going to happen again this year. All soft fruits will be gone. I don't know how many years they can hold on. Well, anyway, it's, the weather's changing. And in some places it's worse, in some places it's warmer. We're actually, our winter's half over or more now already. And so we're the beneficiary of it so far. But it's not all good news. The thing is, the weather has a lot to do with things. Has a big bearing on agriculture, which means food production, which means cost of living, whatever. We're living in a different type of world. When I say different, what I mean is different in my time slot, 1934 to 2025, 91 years. The weather has changed. The climate is changing. The politics of the world and governments are all changing. Lifestyles are changing. Morals are changing, or lack of morals. And basically what's changing the most is that people have no fear of God. In a nutshell, that's what it is. There used to be a fear of God in people, a reverence. Not much anymore. And that's going to carry on until it breaks the back of civilization. There's a new government, new president going into the States in about, 2 weeks or so. And that may change things a bit, but the things that have been taking hold in the States, things they call it woke, and it's all the LBGTPQP whatever stuff being pushed, and in the military and everything. And men can be women, and women can be men, and all real BS, false things. Basically lies. And we're living in a lying world. The thing is, people, especially, politicians especially, have no compunction at all not to lie. It's become their mode of operation is to lie. If they're asked about anything, they'll just plain lie about it. And people have become so susceptible to lies that they just don't care anymore, and they have to believe what they're told, so they believe that. There's no resistance against the false lying. Now, you take that a step farther. Why is that? Why has that happened? Well, like one thing I said is there is no fear of God anymore. Not really. There may be a few people that still think about it, but they think about it and put it over to the side, just out of the road. Never mind. And deal with it, maybe deal with it later, if at all. And the laws, God's laws, are basically people put their nose up against it and just say, forget it. They're, home after household and everything else, everywhere you go, is secular. There's no more big families, together. Very few. There are some that are not white race families. They're they are quite large families. Some Muslim families are larger, I believe. And the business of reckoning, it's going to come. There's no question about it. Nobody's really running for the doors yet, but there's going to be. And the thing is, it's going to happen. Like they say, things are happening fairly slowly, and you don't notice it. But then pretty soon it starts to happen a little bit more, and then a little more often, and a little more often, and all of a sudden, bang, it hits. In other words, it started out slow, and then it got fast. That's how it works. And this will be the same way. The one thing that I've been chided about a lot is that I pay attention to Donald Trump. In fact, when he first got elected in 2016, I watched every rally on YouTube, every rally he had. And I was mesmerized by those rallies. I mean, 30, 40, 50,000. No guitar, no nothing, just him. And he was drawing these big crowds. I happened to run across a cheap flight to New York on October the 20th or 21st or something. So I flew there on October 26th. The election is November 4th or something. I was there for 3-4 days. And I looked around. I looked at his Trump Towers, went in there, went in where he came down these escalators, and I looked at that. And I just wanted to know the mood in New York. And it was not favorable to him. Not really. But he was in the news all the time. For instance, when I was in New York, I just ate at McDonald's in Times Square. I thought, I'm only here for a couple of days. I don't need anything fancy, that's for sure. I won't have a hamburger and coffee and blah, blah, blah. I went in there and I was in McDonald's one day, and basically McDonald's was down at the bottom, and then the second floor was seating. So I got the coffee and the hot dog, or the hamburger, and went up on the second floor and sat down. And a guy about 45 or so came in carrying a tray and a coffee and whatever. And there were lots of open places, but he asked me, he said, do you mind if I sit down with you? And I said, no, by all means. So we got talking, and I said, where are you from? Are you visiting here? Yes, he said, I'm here on a conference at the United Nations right now. He said, I'm from Istanbul, in Turkey. And I looked at him and I said, is that right? Well, I said, isn't that something? I said, I'd like to ask you something. The election is coming up here in a couple of days, and that's everything that's on the news. It's all about that. Donald Trump and what the heck is that? Can't say the name. Anyway, it's all about that all the time. Hillary Clinton. And I said to him in Istanbul, is that on your news at all? He looked at me and he said, that's all we get. It's on all the time. And I said to him, isn't that something? I said, this election in the United States has become something that is now worldwide. And the whole world pays attention to who gets elected president of the United States. Yeah, he said, that's for sure. And I said, well, isn't that something? And we're living through this and we're experiencing it. Yeah, he said, that's true. And so I just, I thought, now isn't that was an eye-opener to me that, I knew that it's in Europe and whatever. I didn't know it was all around. So this was like October 26th, 27th. It wasn't really like cold, but it was pretty cool. When I went walking down the street, it was, pretty chilly. Anyway, I got over to the Empire State Building. I don't know, about 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And got in the door there, came in the main door, and it's just sort of a hallway there, and you go up to this big desk, and you line up, and all of a sudden I'm in a lineup. I'm in a bloody lineup at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And there was, Japanese, and I could hear a bunch of Englishmen, and this is October the 26th, 27th. It's not holiday season, and yet they were lined up to go up to the top of the Empire State Building. And that was, quite a thing, because I had to stand in that line, and it was a pretty good line. I'll bet you 48, 50, 60 people in that line. Anyway, that line went through pretty fast, actually. It'd go a big chunk at a time. And when we got into this elevator, it was a big elevator, a big room, not just a little elevator. And I bet you there was like 40 people in there anyway. And Empire State Building is 113 stories high. I think it goes up to about the 109th or something. Anyway, it started out, just like a hum, and I could feel the thing going up. And all of a sudden, it just started speeding up faster and faster and faster. I mean, we were just flying, it felt like. And in about a matter of so many, I don't know if it was even a minute, we were up to the top and slowed right down and stopped. The doors opened up. I thought, wow, what a ride that is. Takes 40 people up there and just a whisk. And got out there, and in front of me, going out into the top floor, I was in another lineup. And same thing. And I didn't see any Americans, but I saw Japanese, Englishmen, Africans, whatever. And it was bunches of Chinese, Japanese, Englishmen, and get in and it's a big open floor with these windows all around. And you go up there and you take a look out that window and you're looking down on skyscrapers. And there's skyscrapers now a lot higher than the Empire State Building, but not very many. That was an eye-opener. New York is it's a pretty old city. It's a big city. Like, for instance, it's big and clunky. Like when you're downtown and right beside McDonald's, just at the door next to McDonald's, you walk in this door and you go into the subway. You walk in and you start going down these big metal steps and stairs, thick metal stairs, everything real heavy duty steel. And it goes down and down and down and down, and finally you get down to the subway. And it's got to be like 50, 80 feet deep down there. And you stand there and it's got a sign about, this goes that way, that goes that way. And this subway comes in, you can hear it coming, and you're standing on the platform. There's no railings, no nothing, you just stand there, and there's these big cars come in, and they're at least 100 feet long, each one. And comes in and just roaring in and boom, stops right in front of you. And the doors all fly open on one side, and the people just pour out. And then the people on the deck, they pour in. But the people have to come out first for the others to go in. And you just go boom, in like that. And for instance, I got on the subway, and this one guy got up and gave me a seat. Said, "No, sit here." I was older. I said, "Thank you very much." And I sat down, and in that car, it was only me and about 2 other guys that were white guys. Everyone else was black. Old women, mostly old women, women and older women on there, and some black guys. And as they got on, they just sat down, and they all pulled out their cell phone. That's not just one, everyone. And they started going on this. Old black women sitting there, and put earbuds in. Nobody looked at anybody. Everybody looked just up their phone and listened. The whole car. And I thought, there's a, I know about that, but I've never seen it. There's a big change. You know, they were in their own world, totally. Were not interacting with anybody, nobody. And it was the whole car, everyone. I said, there's a big change. When I booked that room, I did it on Airbnb, and what is it, the Bronx, I guess it said. I never thought anything of that. Well, that was an absolutely black neighborhood, just black. And I didn't know that, and yet I didn't mind that. No, I got along just fine. This woman had, I think it was 2 or 3 rooms. Yeah, okay. And, I made out okay. And that was my visit to New York. And the other thing is I noticed, I'm kind of interested in buildings and whatever. When I walk down the street, a lot of places, I always count how many floors these buildings are. I count them right away. And anyway, I'm looking, like, here's Fifth Avenue. This is the main downtown. 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever. I could go over like 5th Avenue, 6th Avenue, still big buildings and, what would you call it? Not small business or anything, huge buildings, business buildings. And then go another street, well, then it got into different stuff. And about the 3rd street over, it got to be apartment buildings. 1 block, nothing but apartment, 1 building, nothing but apartments going up. I measured the sidewalk on 5th Avenue because there's a whole tremendous amount of people walking towards you when you're walking on that avenue, on the sidewalk. And that sidewalk was 20 feet wide on each side. And there was 4 lanes of traffic on the street. And taxi cabs, just yellow everywhere. I went over 2 or 3 streets. The sidewalks were still 20 feet wide. I don't know how far that went, or streets that went like that. But I thought to myself, who had the foresight? This city is like hundreds of years old now. And who could have had the foresight to have wide sidewalks like that, wide streets, when they were in the horse and buggy days? When did that happen? How did that happen? Who was the planner on that? It was interesting, the things that I saw in New York, basically, and I was just looking around a little bit. I went to the museum, one big museum, just off main 5th Avenue. That was a big one, and I forget what it was called. It was right on the Centennial Park, 1,000 acres, right along the edge of it, all these big buildings. I went down to the river, and I got on a ferry some kind of a ferry boat or whatever that just went up and down. You paid so much to get on it, and it went up the river and then come back. And touring boat. And I watched all the different people getting on there, you know. There was Jews, like, I don't know what they call them. They have long ringlet hair down and funny hats and stuff. And there was several of those. And a couple of them must have been, you know, pretty high up or something, because they'd be coming, one would come in and there'd be other two fussing around and getting stuff for him and doing this and that. So, you know, when you look at that and go up the river, Statue of Liberty, well, just look up, there it is, and you look along the river, and you look down the river, and it's nothing but big bridges, one after another in the distance. Big bridges. And I thought, this is, you're not a normal town, that's for sure. It's not a normal city. This is a huge city, world city. When I finally left, I went to the airport, just got on a bus and went to JFK. And that's a big airport. Anyway, you know, I went in there and it seemed like they had it rigged up where you just walked along this way and into this and into that. Went up to this booth, there's all these booths. Went up to one, get a ticket, do this, do that. From there, go again. And I found it easier, like, to go through that JFK than I did practically in Kelowna. Better than Vancouver, I'll tell you that. And anyway, we went to this one end, and there's a waiting room there, and that's where we were going to get our air, no, not air, WestJet. We were going to get our WestJet plane, get on the WestJet plane and go back. The WestJet plane we were flying on was a 737. I mean, that's all they fly here in BC. And I'm standing in the window there, and I'm looking at the big planes down below, all parked, all this and that. And I'm looking at, like, I think it was air, well, I don't know which ones it was again. Oh, Virgin Airlines, yeah, Virgin was a huge plane, huge, two levels of windows in it. Would be like a 380 something, or the other ones would be a 747, and Air Korea, yeah, Air Korea, and Korean Air, right? That was a huge one. It was parked very close, with two levels, windows going all the way top, all the way bottom. They most likely carry like 350, 400 people. And they're big. And I was waiting, and all of a sudden, in the distance, I could see out in the airfield, this one plane coming down. It was just, you know, taxiing along. It was small, a little plane, you know. I thought, oh, I wonder what that is. And I watched it come along, and then it turned and come towards the airport like this. And it come pulling in and just parked like that. And here was our plane, our WestJet 737. Well, here was the big ones like this, and here was ours like this. little, it looked pathetic. I just looked at it and I thought, oh, man. Will that thing get us back to Kelowna? I just got on it, flew right. I think we flew directly to Calgary, and then Calgary to Kelowna. Yeah, it's quite a thing. The thing is, that's the part of the world, that I haven't seen in 90 years. And I was kind of glad I did. I've never really been enamored with the world, really. I've been amazed by it. And I think, totally amazed, because when you see nature things, and I'm no big environmentalist or anything, but when you when you find out about nature, and it boggles you, because it's beyond our imagination even, how these things are created and how they work and live for so long and produce and go this way, that way, all over the place. This bunch eats that bunch eats that bunch. Yeah, and it's amazing thing. So right now I think I'm going to close this off, because that's about what I want to talk about tonight, and I don't want to linger on too much on anything else. If you're still here, I'm glad that you are, and I'm going to leave a little note that to not forget why Jesus Christ came to this earth. Don't forget that. Now, anything you do in this world, if you want to get religious or something, I guess you can get religious about that. But, what God promises is not necessarily anything religious or anything like that. It's just a real, down-to-earth, biggest promise that the earth has ever had. And that his son came to this planet. He was born as a child, so he was born as a sperm of God. That had to be. He was not born in a human body, but his spirit was different. His spirit came into that body. That body was basically no different than any other human body. But the spirit in it is where the power was. We have a human spirit, he had a God spirit. And we should never forget that. The reason he did it, he absolutely came into this world for you and I and everyone else, to keep us from being destroyed, because we couldn't keep God's law, and God knew it. And God wants sons. He wants a big family. A big family of sons. And he's going to get it. Yeah, he's just about pretty close, I think, pretty close to 100 billion people through this earthly ringer. And I think he's going to. He tells us that this world is temporary. It's going to be destroyed by fire, purged and destroyed by fire. And he's going to create a new heaven and a new earth that'll accommodate his great city. So if anything you do in your life, ever in your whole life, remember that. And when you think of, like, who, I mean, there's nobody more important than God is, and he's the creator. He is the basic force behind everything, and who Jesus Christ is. He is the one who does all the physical things, creates things, steps up and agrees with the Father that he will die in place of you and I to save us from being destroyed. That you should repeat to yourself over and over and realize that that is the most important thing you can do in this existence. That's why you were born. No other reason. You can flub it all around your life. Every single person on the planet was born for that reason. And God had to create a universe to handle it. Well, I've coughed enough. I can't do this anymore. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a good day, good night, good week, and God bless you.